It's not always going to be nice, but it's going to be honest. Hello, Champagne Dreamers. Welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, welcome. Thanks for stopping by. I hope you'll stick around and subscribe. My name is Janessa, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, we are going back to the Makeup Thunderdome! 11 palettes enter. Only one palette leaves. Although, actually, all of them will leave, because I'm not decluttering any of them. Declutter series coming soon. So I have almost every palette from Lunar Beauty. There's one, I think just one that I don't have. We'll talk about that. And we're going to get into it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to rank them. I'm going to tell you why. We're going to burn some trash. We're going to sing some praises. It's going to be up. It's going to be down. It's going to be the best of times. It's going to be the worst of times. And so if you're excited to see all of that and see my ranking of the Lunar Beauty eyeshadow palette collection, then stick around because we're getting into it right now. Alright, I am super excited for this video. I always love a trip to the Makeup Thunderdome, and you know what? I am super excited to talk about Lunar Beauty because it's another queer-owned makeup brand. We did a Makeup Thunderdome of Trixie Cosmetics palettes, both the eyeshadows and the blush palettes recently. Check that out here if you haven't seen it already. And so I am excited to get into Lunar Beauty. So Lunar Beauty is owned by YouTuber Manny MUA. I don't really love Manny's content. I haven't really watched it. Sometimes if he has a release video, I'll watch it. Sometimes I just hear about the releases from other YouTubers that I watch. But I don't really jive with his content. And he says at the beginning, if you don't like me, if you don't like what I do, don't fucking watch. And I'm like, done and done.
Bye.
And so I don't really vibe with his content, but I do love his makeup. I think a lot of his stuff is really, really good. Not all of it, and we're going to talk about it, but we're going to get into it. I have 11 palettes. Now, 3 of them are face palettes, and 4 of them are eyeshadow palettes. I mean, probably eye and pigment palettes, whatever. Let's just pretend we're in Europe, shall we? Oui, oui, mademoiselle. No, I just have to powder my nose. So we are going to talk about all 11 palettes. This time, I know with Trixie, I broke up the blush palettes and the eyeshadow palettes. For Lunar Beauty, it's my channel, I can do what I want, and so I decided to keep them all together because I do think that the face palettes compete with the eye palettes a little bit differently for this brand. So we've got 11 palettes, they're all in the lineup together, and we're going to get started with number 11. Let me know down in the comments, which palette do you think is going to be number 1? Number 11 is a recent addition to my collection. I ordered it when I ordered the advent calendar, and it fills me with rage. It fills me with rage. I have not touched it. I have not swatched it. I can't even speak to the formula. It is going in the last spot specifically because it is a shameless, disgusting cash grab. And that is the Life's a Drag Facelift palette. So the first palette that Manny ever launched with was the Life's a Drag palette, which is also going to be on this list. And for the 3-year anniversary of his brand, he re-released it as the Life's a Drag Facelift, where he had added 7 additional shadows. So here's the original Life's a Drag with 2 rows of shadows, half neutral, half colorful, and 2 shimmers tucked right in the center. And it also came with a brush. For the anniversary palette, he decided to add 1 more full row. So 3 more matte neutrals, 3 matte colorful shades, and 1 new shimmer. So this is the updated color story. Now, these 3 shades down here are the new neutrals. This one is the new shimmer. And the orange, the purple, and the green are the new colorful shades. Now, Miss J, you may be asking yourself, how could you be mad about 7 new shades? Isn't that more value for your money? No, it's not. It's really fucking not. Call me Stephanie Nicole, call me Jen Love, whoever your favorite guru is that actually gives a shit and does the math. I figured this out because I was like, these pans look really small. The original Life's a Drag palette with 14 shades is a total of 21 grams. The new facelift palette with 21 shades is 15.12 grams. So not only do you not get the double-sided brush that you got with the first one, let's take the value of that out completely. I know some people don't like brushes in palettes. I liked that brush. I thought it was a good brush. Manny generally does pretty good brushes, and the brush in that palette was just as good as any of his other brushes that I've tried. But the price per ounce of the shadows went up almost an entire dollar per ounce. Both of the palettes retailed for $48. So in the original 14 shade palette, which was 21 grams, that works out to $2.29 per ounce. In the Life's a Drag facelift palette, yes, you do get 7 additional shades, but the overall ounce weight, the overall volume, is only 15.12, divided out among those 21 shades is $3.17 per ounce. So almost an entire dollar more expensive. And the artwork is just not as good. So this one now with his face all over it, these eyes are beautiful. It would be hard to make those eyes with the colors in the palette. It seems like a little bit of trickery to me, but this artwork is beautiful. This is just kind of okay. So this is in last place. I am mad about it. I'm gonna stay mad about it. I'm gonna die mad about it. I think it's a cash grab. I thought there would be something about it that would really draw me in, and once I looked at it, and then when I looked at the sizes of the pans and realized that it was just way more expensive for not really anything exciting or new, nope, done. If you enjoy the ranty part of my videos, then stick around, because number 10 is going to be just as bad. The Advent Calendar palette that doesn't even have a fucking name. This is the biggest catfish I have ever seen in my life. Because if you have not seen this, if you have not watched a video, if you haven't seen my video unboxing it, you can check it out right here. But this palette, look at this wintry Aurora Borealis beautifulness, and then we slowly open it up like a fucking mummy's tomb. Look at that dry, dusty fall color story. I mean, I know he kind of warned us in the video that it was going to be fall, but I thought you could do fall combined with these kind of blue tones, even with purple. If you did more, there's purple in this. So if you did a fall palette that was a lot of purples, but this is a whole lot of beige, brown, mustard bullshit. This palette makes me angry. Let me tell you, I'm filming this the same day that I unboxed it. So I have not touched this. I have not swatched it. I have not played with it. Again, it's going in almost last place. It still doesn't make me as mad as the facelift palette. But this one, it's beautiful. If he had sold this as a fall palette, I would have loved it. As the Advent Calendar with that packaging, with the promise of this cover that everybody was showing off on their social media, it's a dud for me. So these bottom two, that's where it gets real ranty. Now we're going to get into the more positive. In the number 9 spot, we have the Outer Dimension Face Palette. Now this Teletubby nightmare of a cover, I don't understand what's going on here. This is like a contour highlight palette, but it just kind of misses the mark. Now we're getting into ones that I've actually used, that I've actually played around with, and I do like the quality of these powders, but there's some problems. So this is sort of a combined highlighter contour, although I'm like light to medium, and most of these are highlight shades on me. So it doesn't go very deep. It doesn't have a lot of shades for deeper skin tones. You know, this is like the darkening shade. So these two shades are in the middle, where it's like, well, if one of these shades isn't perfect, you can darken it or lighten it. But there are a lot of people who are darker than this shade. So what are they supposed to do? It just does not work for a lot of different people. And then Manny got on his social media and he was whining and crying about how things are really expensive to make single compacts and it just wasn't really going to work. So he did this instead and he thought people could use it. And he thought that like maybe makeup artists would use it. Imagine a professional makeup artist showing up with this. So it's just, these powders are beautiful. And let me tell you, as a drag queen, I'm probably going to get more use out of more of these powders. But even for me, it's kind of a miss. But I can probably get some out of here because I'm not doing like everyday makeup. I'm doing weird effects and trying to do different things to my face. So I'll probably get a little bit more use out of this, but this really missed the mark. But you know what? The reason why he does shit like this is because he gets away with it. I mean, clearly he got my money and he probably got your money too. People who complain about how expensive it is to do individual compacts would figure that problem out real fast if nobody bought that shit. So we're kind of also to blame, the consumers, because I spent my money on it, you spent your money on it, but it just doesn't deserve any higher spot. It deserves to be over the Catfish and the Cash Grab, but other than that, the powders are beautiful, but it's just like, why? Why does this exist? Why did it have to happen? Why, though? In the number 8 spot for Lunar Beauty, we have the Nude Prism palette. Now, this is beautiful. His packaging, that's one thing I will give it to him, that I think that his aesthetic for packaging most of the time is really, really good. The facelift, I loved the older version of that palette much better. I think that the palette from the advent calendar was beautiful. It just didn't match the actual shades. But this is gorgeous, and even though it's maybe a little bit more pinky peach, it's still pretty representative of what you find inside. And this is just a very kind of basic, beautiful, neutral palette where you've got a row of lighter mattes, a row of darker mattes, you've got a matte black, and then you've got this row of shimmers in the middle. This is a beautiful palette. The only reason why this is as low as it is because obviously everything can't be in the top spot, and this is very neutral, very beige, very basic Becky, and I'm this. So every once in a while, I do like to do nude, neutrally kind of looks just for fun. And I'm thinking about restarting Face Fridays on my website, and so maybe I'll start pulling out some of these neutral palettes. This is beautiful. The consistency is really good. His mattes are very dry and silky. I love them, but this one just is not very exciting to me. Then in the number 7 spot, we have the Nude Prism Blush Palette. So this is the first of his 2 blush palettes. I think this is beautiful. This was a lovely compliment to the Nude Prism palette. And his blushes are beautiful. I love his blushes. The main reason why this is lower on the list is because these shades are a little bit more nude. So we've got this really bright kind of hot coral red, and we've got this real raspberry fuchsia. These are a little bit more extreme, and then these are very nude. When we compare it to what's in the other blush palette, I just prefer those shades more, but these are like silky. They're beautiful to apply. I love this palette. I love both of his blush palettes. This is just a little bit lower because the colors are not as suited to me. In the number 6 spot, we're getting spooky. And that is the Moonspell Volume 2. So this was one of his Halloween palettes. This one is beautiful. I love that it looks like a book. The book nerd in me, it drives me crazy that the spine is printed the wrong direction for how it would be on a book. That makes me a little bit crazy. But that's also a me problem and not necessarily a Lunar Beauty problem. But these shades are really gorgeous. And this one, I feel like the Moonspell palettes, their formula is not quite the same. It's not quite as good. Some of the shimmers are a little bit more chunky, glittery, which I don't love. The mattes are okay, but they're a little bit... They're still dry, but they're not as silky. They're a little bit grainier. But I do love them. And like this red Freya is really beautiful. Cameron, this kind of coral red. This bright purple Macy. But I like the colors in the Moonspell Volume 1 more. And that's why Moonspell Volume 1 ended up in the number 5 spot. Again, similar sort of look. I love the look of this book, binding aside. I think that this is a really beautiful design. It's different than his other palettes, but it's really, really pretty and perfect for spooky season. And I just like the selection of colors better. I mean, obviously, look at me right now. There's some greens in here, which we know I love. There are some beautiful purples. And then we have these interesting neutrals. But it's not just beige, basic Becky bullshit. It's definitely like... There's this brown, which is kind of basic, but then there's this like taupey shimmer, and then this kind of cool tone mauve-y neutral. So I really love this. They're named after witches. I think it's a lot of fun, and so this had to go in my number 5 spot. Now going into this, I knew what my number 1 palette was, but for 2, 3, and 4, this was hard, and I really just had to lay them out on my table. And I had to say, if you had to declutter one of these right now, which one would it be? But just know that 1, 2, 3, and 4 are my absolute favorites. I do love all of these, but I had to make some choices. I couldn't have a 4-way tie for first. And so I just looked at them and I was like, which one would you declutter? And it would hurt my heart so much. But in the number 4 spot, it's the Eternal Eclipse palette. Of the Moon packaging, I think that this is some of the best. I love this dark version of it. I love the kind of oil slick iridescence of this moon. This is so beautiful. And it's kind of like, it's in the same vein as the other packaging, but it's a darker, this teal kind of aurora borealis. Gorgeous. This packaging is perfection. And when we get in, I love the color story. I love that there's a couple blues, there's a couple grays, and then there's like a black shimmer. And then we've got the more basic neutrals. You've got kind of a matte transition shade for a bunch of different skin tones. And then you've got this row of really beautiful metallics. Now, the only reason why this isn't higher up for me, again, it's a little bit of color story. When I was thinking about the other ones, I was like, if I had to declutter one, it would be this one because I want more of this blue. I want, like, instead of this row, maybe take out a couple of these and give me a couple teals. You know, bring in some of that teal from the cover. Do something that really kind of gives me a little bit more of that eclipse dark kind of feeling, because we know Manny can do neutrals. We know he can do matte neutrals. This was before the Nude Prism palette, but I mean, now that he's got the Nude Prism palette, why would you ever need the neutrals in this? You've got all those colors very similar in the Nude Prism. So I just wish this went a little bit further in terms of giving us some color. But this is really beautiful. The formula is excellent. I love these shades. But of the last four, this is the one that would go. In the number 3 spot...
Life is a cabaret, old chum.
Or maybe it's just a drag. So now we're going to talk about the original Life's a Drag palette. This is the one that launched the brand. This is the first one. I think it's really beautiful. I didn't pick this up at launch. I didn't pick it up for a long time. There was all that drama with like Manny and Jeffree Star and Laura Lee, and there was just so much going on, and it was always sold out. Now, I was on a work trip, and I found this at a Morphe store, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to give this a try. And once I tried this, I was like, this is fucking gorgeous. This is so beautiful. And I know that people ragged on him about this color story, and they're like, this isn't a drag palette. Why would you call this drag? And I actually think that this is a really good starter drag palette. And I'm sad that you can't get this version anymore, that you have to get the other one. I mean, there are some positives to the other one because they've added, you know, those 7 additional shades. But I love that there's like, so there's these neutrals. For a drag palette, matte black, matte white. Absolutely have to have. Now, I get it, drag is art and art is subjective, as the Boulet brothers would say. All of this kind of stuff, I love it, but if you're learning drag and if you're trying to figure out your drag style, I think having really good mattes is a good place to start learning how to do your makeup, and then you can work in the shimmers and those like special effects kind of colors and things like that. So anytime I'm recommending to somebody who's new, I tell them to look for a palette that's got a matte white and a matte black, because with that, you can take any of these colorful shades and really create a rich, beautiful gradient. So I love that it's got some really beautiful colors. Now, these don't necessarily, some of them pair well, but it's a little bit like Rainbow Nightmare. You're missing a couple. And the Facelift palette does bring in the other colors of the rainbow, so you've got a mini rainbow palette there. But I think that any of these, with like these, and maybe a couple of the neutrals to buff it out, gives you really beautiful monochromatic looks. So as you're practicing and as you're learning how to do that, you can take one of these, or maybe two, the pink and the red, or the blue and the green, or the blue and the yellow, and create a green. I think these are beautiful. And these two shimmers are really pretty. And it's a really nice formula. Now, the shimmer that they added in the new palette looks like, I mean, it doesn't look like it's actually pressed glitter, but it looks like it's in the same zip code, and I'm not happy about it. If you haven't figured out, I'm not happy about that palette at all. I'm real mad. I'm big mad. I'm gonna die mad about it. But I love this, and these are really beautiful to work with. I love this palette. This is gorgeous. And in the number 2 spot, we have the other blush palette, the Moon Prism blush palette. That's why I included his face powders in this lineup, because his face products are stunning. They are as good as his eye products. So like Trixie, I feel like they do their own thing really well, but they feel very different to me. This, to me, it's weird to say, especially for me as somebody who is a very recent convert to blush. Check out the first of my Blush Journey series right here. But I love this. This outer packaging is gorgeous. It's got that moon theme. It's really lovely. And inside, these blushes are Perfect. These are my perfect shades. So you saw the other ones, how like the fuchsia and the red were like deeper, but they were a little bit more kind of extreme undertones. These are just beautiful peachy, pinky blushes. I can use these all the time. These I can use for every single look. There's only one shimmer down here, this shimmer blush. I love a glowy blush moment, but I'm not afraid to use a highlighter that's too dark for my skin tone and glow up a blush. These are beautiful for blending contour in if I want a little bit more of a natural drag cheek. I mean, ain't nothing real natural about this face, but you know what I mean. And so I love this. And when I was putting things together, I kept thinking, well, this should be lower. It's a blush palette. It's a blush palette. And I would look at this and another palette. Now, if I had to declutter one of these, which one would it be? It wasn't until the number 2 spot that it was this one. I know, color me shocked. Like, I am a blush convert, clearly. That's how I ended up with 3 editions of the blush journey. But this is really beautiful. Now, for those of you who are fans of Lunar Beauty and you know what palettes are out there, I think you can guess what's in number 1. The Greek Goddess palette. I loved that packaging. I am obsessed with Medusa. That's another kind of horror geek video that I want to do at some point, talking about the legend of Medusa and my obsession with it. My next tattoo is probably going to be a Medusa tattoo. I love the story of Medusa. That packaging is beautiful. But on the inside, it's a couple pops of jewel tones and basic beige Becky. I don't need it. I don't want it. I don't need it in my collection. So obviously the number 1 palette in my collection is the Strawberry Dreams. I love this. I'm gonna have to look and see if I still have photos. If I do, I'll pop one into the video here. But back when I was doing Face Fridays during the pandemic, I used this to create a half and half, like fuchsia pink and blue look on my website for Face Friday. And the post is gone, but I think I still have pictures. This is really beautiful. I mean, look at this pink, beautiful cover. And you get little hints of like the blue in the clouds. And then inside you just have every shade of like pink, red, beautiful mattes that you could need. And then you've got some really beautiful shimmers. You've got these couple more purpley tones. If you want to take it a little bit more berry, you can just mix those with the pinky reds. And then you've got a couple of bright blues, which means that you can really, with this palette, get almost any combination of pink, red, blue that you want. And if you're not quite getting there, you can bring in the matte white and the matte black from the Life's a Drag palette and get pretty much anything. I love this. I love these shimmers. I think these are really beautiful. This is a flaky nightmare, and I don't even care. Like, this one with this blue reflect is so gorgeous. I love this palette. It used to smell like Strawberry Quick, and that has kind of faded over the years. I'm a little sad about that. But the palette itself is beautiful. The quality is wonderful. I had to make this my number 1. I knew going in that this was going to be the number 1 spot, and then everything else, it was like, let's just figure out where it fits in the ranking. So that is the video. Let me know down in the comments below, what did you think? Are you a Lunar Beauty fan? Do you have any of these palettes, most of these palettes, all of these palettes? Do you think I did a good job ranking them? Would you have put them in a different order? Are you tired of my ranting about the advent calendar and the facelift palettes? Do you think I went too far? Let me know all of your comments down in the comments section below. I would love to hear your thoughts. While you're down there, don't forget to give me that thumbs up. Or if you are a fan of the facelift palette, you think that's the best palette ever created, you think my math is fuzzy, you think I'm a raging bitch, give me that thumbs down. I will take it. It is all engagement. The algorithm isn't a picky bitch, and neither am I. While you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the bell notification icon so you'll be notified of all future uploads. I've been doing really good about keeping up with at least 2 videos a week, including vintage episodes of my podcasts, Miss Jaye the Renovation, and coming soon, or maybe it started coming out now, Janessa After Dark Series 1. I've been really good at keeping up, giving you 2 videos a week, and sometimes, if you're very lucky, there might even be a bonus video. Ooh, the lunacy. And if you'd like to chat, banter, or commiserate in between uploads, all of my social media will be linked down in the description box below, including a link to my website, version 3.0, The World of Champagne at JanessaJaye.com. Thank you so much for watching. I love and appreciate all of you. I love it every time you come on a trip to the Makeup Thunderdome. These are some of my favorite videos to make, and I'm so glad that you enjoy them and have been showing them love. And until I see you again, bye. A bonus video. Ooh. Spangtastic. What? Spangtastic. That's not a word.
Spangtastic. Oh my.
I think that was going to be 2 words, but I don't even know what the 2 words were.